they're not up to the challenge either. We have a huge number of people that are addicted to either non-prescription drugs, illicit drugs, or they're on everything from blood thinners to mood-altering drugs to you name it. We have 7 or 8% of the population now that's insulin dependent, diabetic. What's going to happen to all these people when the power grid goes down? It's going to be a huge die-off.
Well, look at Katrina. The government couldn't and wouldn't even help people, and it was an absolute hellhole right there. But the government wouldn't let the people walk out on the highways and get away, though. I mean, it just shows a total predatory view. I want to run through some more of the points here. Let's look at the upcoming vote in Greece. Preparedness for banking crisis. We already kind of mentioned that, but recapping it. Then general preparedness, and then preparedness for a internet attack or mega flare.
Okay, well, it's a lot to cover it in one interview, but I think it is important that people get prepared. In terms of a banking crisis, people need to keep a lot more cash at home. And as I pointed out in my piece in Survival Blog, a good chunk of that ought to be in 5-cent coins, in nickels, because it's the only currently circulating coin in the United States still being minted that's worth its face value. Everything else is just a token. Granted, pre-1981 pennies are worth 2.6 times face value right now, but you have to sort those, and that's not even worth the time to do so.
Great point. People can make a whole living off getting bulk pennies, picking them out in nickels, but folks don't even want to do that. They'd rather just get a welfare check.
Yeah, they'd rather do that. But again, people need to get prepared for this coming banking crisis. I think we will have a delay before it takes place here in the States because the dollar and U.S. Investments are going to be seen as the safe haven temporarily. But this is your window of opportunity, folks. Get a wad of cash, and it should be in $1 and $5 bills, not large bills, because you're going to need to be able to make change. If there's a banking crisis, people are going to have to revert to cash for just about everything. Stock that cash away, develop a good hiding place at home that won't be found. Make sure at least 2 family members know where it is in case you don't come home someday. Get your food storage squared away. Get a water filter. Make plans to team up with your country cousins or friends that you have that live in lightly populated rural farming areas, because you may need to depend upon them. You may need to double up with them. For anyone who's already at retirement age or has the opportunity to retire early or who is self-employed, I recommend that you go ahead and make the move now. You're actually behind the power curve. You really should have moved several years ago so you'd have a chance to get established, put all your fences in, get your water supply squared away, plant a garden.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if I didn't have to be in Austin, which is a great town, and to have the crew here, I would be 1,000 miles from nowhere. I mean, I would be out of here just on the chance there's going to be this collapse. And now we're just hoping for a way to get out of it. That's my next question, and I want you to abbreviate and finish the other points. We'll have you back for a second interview very soon as this all accelerates. Is there any way right now to avert this? And on a scale of 1 to 10, if we can't avert it, I mean, are we looking at a 3, a 4, God forbid, a worse of a collapse?
Well, I don't think it can be avoided at this point. Now, it could be delayed quite a while. They might have a currency reform here in the States. As I mentioned in my blog, they might even do something as severe as dropping a 0 or even 2 zeros off the dollar, which would cause a overnight boost to the economy because suddenly gasoline, instead of being $3 a gallon, will be back to 30 cents a gallon, and a movie ticket instead of $9 will be 90 cents. So it'll give people the illusion of prosperity in the short term. There could be an event like that that would kind of carry us over, basically muddle through a depression for a couple of years. But in the long term, things are going to break down. We will see a full-scale economic collapse. It's at this point because of the national debt alone, I see it as absolutely inevitable.
And it's kind of a perpetual motion machine. The global architects admit they set this in motion to consolidate total power. That's why they do rule the earth, though. They're wicked, they don't care, they're ruthless, and they're willing to gamble it all. They're willing to gamble it all. You know, the Rothschilds, on record, helped fund Hitler up front. Then he was even able to kill some of the French Rothschilds during the war. I mean, these globalists, they really are willing to gamble it all for total power. And so they're either going to get everything or we're going to end up defeating them in the process.
Yeah, well, if nothing else, they have clearly demonstrated they're willing to use the citizenry of every nation as their pawns. We need to be proactive so we don't end up being pawns on the chessboard. We basically have to move ourselves off the chessboard at this point. People need to hunker down in a secure area. You know, the hill country out of Austin is not all that bad. There's a lot of other areas like that in the United States. I'm particularly fond of what I refer to as the American Redoubt, which is in the inland Northwest, which consists of Idaho, Montana, Eastern Oregon, Eastern Washington. There's going to be some fairly safe places, relatively safe places, and there are no full-on guarantees, but from an actuarial standpoint, your safety will be much higher in those areas.
Yeah, well, I do live in the hill country, but I only live in the edge of it. It takes me 35 minutes to get to work because I'm in South Austin, so it's basically just straight from Austin out to the country. But, you know, I got a little piece of property. There's ranches around me, but I'm not naive. You know, I'm only about 3 miles off a major road. I guess people like yourself, but also Joel Skousen, they're saying maybe have another just even piece of property with a trailer or something further out. I mean, I'm springing this on you, but perhaps next time you can tell me, what's the safest area of the hill country? How far would I have to be out, like 100 miles from Austin?
50 or more probably. The crucial thing, though, is to make sure you're on the side road of a side road. You don't want to be along any natural line of drift for people fleeing the cities. All the major highways are going to get flooded with refugees. And then the major farm-to-market roads, the side roads, to a lesser extent. But even fewer people are going to end up on the side roads of the side roads. That's where you want to be. And that's my advice to basically, even for my listeners in the Midwest or in the Deep South, if you could be back on the side road of a side road, the vast majority of the problems are not going to come looking for you. You'll be able to avoid them.
Aren't guns going to be the big equalizer, though? If you've got millions and millions being sold a month and roving bands, because I saw this when a hurricane hit Houston. I was at our family ranch in East Texas hunting and hanging out with family, and there were just people from Houston everywhere. Crime did explode, but all that happened was a bunch of looters just got shot. I mean, that's going to be incredible because, I mean, even where I live, I've got a fence, a wall up, I got dogs. They're going to wake me up. I got cameras. You come over, I'm going to get up. You're dead. I mean, I could kill. I'm not waiting for it. I'm not happy about it, but my children are going to stay safe. I'll kill 500 people. They come on my property. I mean, it's over.
Well, the people that are well armed are not going to get picked on. And it's just like if you look at urban crime right now, the people that get picked on are the people that are most vulnerable. The elderly, the infirmed, and the unarmed. If and when we do see a major societal collapse, these roving bands are going to come out of the big cities. They're going to pick on, your Prius driving, Birkenstock wearing neighbors first. They're not going to want to pick on somebody who's well armed, especially in a situation where their advanced medical care has gone away.
So if they drive up on something that's got a rock wall and then behind that a fence, they're going to figure out that's a. But in a way, isn't a fortress like that even more obvious in a way?
Well, Joel Skousen has always said you want to have your house just completely blend in, but you have to make compromises to your architecture if you do that. I'd actually rather look like a tough nut to crack.
No, I mean, that's what I'm behind. I mean, I'm behind. I mean, I believe all this. I've built multiple things, and I'm ready.
Well, I think you're going to pull through just fine, and most people that are well prepared are going to pull through. Again, if they're on a side road of a side road, and again, the looters are not going to want to pick on you. You start cranking rounds off over their heads, they're going to go find a softer target. They're not going to want to take casualties. They're going to go pick on Granny down the road.
Incredible. In closing, this has been an amazing back and forth discussion. A lot more is at survivalblog.com. But let me just try to shut up. I'll have to actually turn my mic off for about 6-7 minutes, let you finish. Get into preparedness for an internet attack, either false flag or launched by the Chinese or Russians. Where do you see the real threat coming from, and how do you prepare for that?
Well, I think there's definitely a threat. In fact, my blog site recently had a attack. It was a denial of service attack where they put thousands of pings on my site to try to shut it down. But we transitioned to a cloud server and basically laughed it off. But we could see far more sophisticated attacks in the future. There could be computer viruses. There could be email attacks. We could see the government itself attempt to shut down part or all of the internet. People need to make plans for a world without the internet in a worst case. And it's important that people go to their favorite websites and look up the dotted quad address, the IP address, for the IVP4 or the IVP6 now address for each of those sites, and literally write down the dotted quad address.
I got to interrupt again. You're always so on target. All my IT people said this years ago. Now they admit, the UN and the U.S. government admit they're going to take our websites away under these treaties for no reason. People won't be able to find us. We're going to be blocked in the Google, which is really NSA search engine. We've got to have the real IP address. Stress that again, but in layman's terms for folks like me.
Sure. If you do a web search in Google or Bing or wherever, search for IP lookup. And there are tools that you can, online tools, they're web pages where you paste in the URL, the name of your favorite websites, and then it will spit back the IP addresses for each of them. That's the easy way to find them. Again, IP lookup. Bookmark an IP lookup page and start writing down and bookmarking the dotted quad addresses for all your favorite websites. Sites like INFOWARS.com or sites like mine or whatever. Get those written down and literally carry that in your wallet, because you never know where you're going to be if there's an internet shutdown, or under what circumstances you might have to flee your own home and end up somewhere else where you don't have your desktop computer or your laptop with you. So you literally want to keep those in your wallet. That's step one. Step two is for the more advanced computer users that are listening to this, you need to explore what's called the darknet. Do a web search on darknet and get yourself set up. It does involve installing a little software on your computer. It's not as easy to use as the internet through a standard web